you work for companies that didn't contribute back to their open source projects. So there's no requirement to contribute back to open source projects. You don't have to do that. Most people don't, and that's fine. Just if you have a change that you make that works well for you, it saves you time and money if you do contribute it back. Because if you keep it on your own and teaching people that and showing them that happens, it costs you a little bit more up front, but in the long term, it saves you money. And if you look for the betterment of the company, depending on where your company is in the life cycle of it, it's a hard sell, but it can work pretty well. So there's no requirement that you have to work with community, but it's nice.
I mean, that is 100% correct. However, when you see, the teams that you work with technically forking the code, making changes in the middle of a bigger platform and never upstreaming those changes, it's really not hard to predict what's going to happen in terms of the maintenance cost. And the company, another division, a separate division at that company did the same thing with another open source project, and it became unmaintainable. And they ran into the problem of the user wanted the upstream version because of whichever feature, and they couldn't port the feature to their forked version. So it wasn't really like you're mandated to contribute back because that is the nice and right thing to do. It was rather, do you want to end up like the other division and drive this thing to the ground? Or you're looking for something that is sustainable in terms of product development. So it was that kind of a challenge that certain parts, if you make changes, that's going to become unmaintainable over time. I don't see how it's not.
Yeah, and your second product is based on the first one. It's not like you're going to do something new every single time. It might be a different team, different project manager, but over the long term, you're going to save stuff. I mean, famously, I talked to some big German company that has lots and lots of divisions, and they joke that they find a new Linux use every week. that division's using Linux over there. Oh, that one's over there. So, it's being used everywhere by these people, but they don't know it's being used. So trying to not necessarily, you don't want to prevent that, but just coalesce it and give the best practices across the company. And here's the company best ways you can do this is a good idea. So you see these larger companies have these open source groups that try and herd those cats that way. And that's a good solution for that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I actually think that the CRA is helping improve that situation with reducing local forks, because local forks cause a slower time to actually do an uplift to the next version because you've got all of the rebasing to do, or you've got backporting to do in some other way. And if you're going to try to stay up to date so that you can give an adequate response to the CVEs that are out on all of those dependencies, it's easier to do if you're up on the most recent version of that dependency, and hence local forking now just made it much more difficult. So
yeah, and work with open source projects that don't break things. So in the kernel, we make the rule, we do not break users. So we made that rule 14 years ago, or maybe longer than that. And we want you never to be afraid to go to the next version. If you go to the next version and your code broke, that's my fault. It's not yours, within reason. But most of the point, we just have a bug right now where something did break. But we don't ever break user space on purpose. Sometimes with security issues, we have to do type of things, and these are rare, and they do happen in some gray area. But we work with software open source projects that don't break things. I mean, I hate Python for breaking things all the time.
I was just going to say Python.
Python, I mean, I love Perl for that. Perl is stable, and it's not going to work like that. And it's an interesting thing. So pick and choose your sources, your ecosystems of ones that do good engineering practices that don't break things and allow you to upgrade in ways that are going to keep working. Curl is a great thing that everybody relies on, and they don't break things. And hence you can depend on it and rely on it. Python is tough. Python is really hard. NPM is rough, all the dependency stuff. And dependency chains are going to get, the CRA is calling that out. And I don't think many managers or executives realize their depth of their software development, their bill of materials, and what those chains look like today. And that's a good thing for the CRA. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I hope that those chains get smaller, and I hope that they coalesce on ones that have good engineering practices and rely on it. And again, support those upstream and then get the good feedback and keep on going for that. And hopefully Python fixes their mess, but I just use a different language.